So that's the 19th of September, this Thursday night at Milk River, 960 Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. And the doors open at 7 p.m. And it's only $10. So you can't do better than that. I want to talk with Christine, damn it. Christine,
I'm
sorry.
I get
Christine.
my name right, huh?
Oh, well, you know why? Because
That's okay.
we've had several people here, and I'm trying to keep them all separate. We've had Christopher, Christine, Christiana, and Christo. So, not Crisco, Christo. You play an important role. You do most of the administrative work for Alan's classes.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you do. And you also are an actress in your own right. You've been working and acting in different places, and I've seen on your biography that you've also been part of a poem group, a group of poems.
Yes, I did poetry readings down in Jersey back in like 2003 and so.
Uh-huh. And have you continued with that? You continue to do it?
No.
And were you part of the workshop down there as well?
The workshop?
Yeah, the one you've been doing some acting in the Ocean County.
Well, there wasn't really a workshop there. I took basic acting classes down there, and I did the vagina monologues down there. But, no, there wasn't really any workshop there, just basic acting classes.
I see. And what do you do for Alan specifically?
Well, I promote the studio as much as I can to my ability.
And you promoted tonight's show a great deal. I've been seeing it all over the place, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. I really like that.
You're welcome.
I really like that. So I know that you're an integral part of the class, and when people, you also, when people sign up and stuff like that, you take care of all of that as well?
Well, I don't say I would take care of the sign-ups or anything, but you know, when it comes to the workshops, I keep a list of all the people who register. I greet them at the door, you know.
And I understand you can't get in unless they get past you.
I guess not.
That's what I've been told. I mean, I've been told you can't get in without her approval.
Yeah, Cristina promotes the classes and the workshops on I don't know how many venues. But before I met her, I was always technologically challenged when it came to Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and all those things. So I really had no knowledge as to how to promote my studio. And she's a student of mine, but when we would get together for lunch and she would make suggestions, you know, naturally I would follow her lead because she knows all about how to promote. So eventually I said to her, you know, how would you like to take on the administrative work of the studio? And she said, yeah, I'd love to. So
that's terrific.
She's been doing that for me now for a couple of years, and it's she's really contributed largely to the success of the studio.
And you also have a great ability with web pages.
Yes, I do web
yeah,
design.
I'm very interested in that, and so is Bill Russo. I'm very interested in that. We're both interested in forming a web page.
Yeah, definitely.
Other than the pages that we have, and I like to talk about that.
Oh, of course.
So besides Meisner, now someone comes in and you've taught them the Meisner technique, and I guess you have stages of pupils. You must have pupils that are there a short time, and you must have pupils you may have for several years.
Yes,
as they grow in their ability. And
the Meisner technique is a very demanding technique, and Meisner says that in his book, and it is.
Would it inhibit a person? I don't know, for lack of a better term, would it inhibit a person that a natural actor? That's what.
No, not at all.
Would it like stilt them from just? Because some people are capable, and I guess you know this better than I do. They're capable of delivering lines very effectively.
Well, look, if you know, Robert Lewis once said to Marlon Brando, when Brando was studying in New York, and his main teacher was Stella Adler, but he also studied at the New School with Erwin Piscator, or Piscator, I don't know how you pronounce that name. Elaine Stritch pronounces his name Piscator, and she studied with him, so I'm deferring to Miss Stritch.
Yeah.
So I'll call him Piscator. But Robert Lewis, Brando was enrolled in a class that Robert Lewis taught, and Robert Lewis said to him, I saw it on a documentary, he said, no one can teach you how to act. You already know how to act. I just need you to take classes so you can learn how to stretch yourself. So some people, look, Brando's a guy that comes along, I don't know, once every 150 years.
Yeah.
I mean, Kazan says in this book I'm reading now, and I've read other books about it, you know, Brando was a true genius at what he did. He was.
He made it look easy.
Everything.
He made it look easy.
Everything. Everything.
Absolutely. And James Caan, recently I saw James Caan on a talk show, and he said that he and Robert Duvall, they had all kinds of methods. You know, they look in the mirror and they talk, they hit themselves in the face, and all kinds of crazy methods. And Brando would be talking about his car, that he had to go to the mechanic, but the mechanic's going to call him about 3:30, but he'll go, and then he goes, okay, you're ready. You just go and do the scene and knock the scene down and then come back and says, yeah, so when I get him, he's going to take that valve out and put in the other. They didn't know how he did it. He appeared, to them at least, that he had no preparation. Now again, they used the word appeared.
He was well trained. Kazan says, he had uncanny instincts, but by the same token, in Kazan's words, Stella taught him very, very well. Now Duvall, I don't know what James Caan, what his method is. I haven't read enough about him, but I know
Robert Duvall. Yeah,
Robert Duvall
Yeah.
studied for 2 years with Sanford Meisner.
Yeah.
And Duvall, in a documentary I saw recently, he said, I was in the Army for 2 years and I studied with Sandy for 2 years and I still can't figure out which was more difficult. because Meisner was a tough cookie, but he taught well. He was a brilliant, brilliant teacher, brilliant. And he devised this system which really helps actors to get out of their head so that they can have a spontaneous living experience when they work, which is really the fun of acting.
Is this important in creating the character in their mind, and becoming the character?
Well, let me say this about character.
Oh, I'm getting too far ahead, maybe.
Different people have different ways of working, and it's best always to talk to a specific actor about what their process is, if they're willing to talk about it. But one of the things, again, since I'm reading this book, I'm making all these references tonight to Kazan. Kazan said that the character had to be inside the person. Brando, for example, in On the Waterfront playing Terry Malloy, was a very conflicted character. Terry Malloy himself had a lot of internal struggle going on inside of him. Right and wrong, guilt, things of that nature, responsibility, obligation. And he said that's who Brando was. He said Brando was also a guy, maybe he changed later on in his life, but he said he was a man, as Kazan knew him, Brando, not Terry Malloy, who was always seeking the approval of others. That's all in Terry Malloy. So as Kazan said, he said, if it's in the actor, you have what he called the bonus all along the way. Because the better the actor is, and the more the character is inside the actor, the less the director has to speak. Somebody once asked John Huston, they said to him, I notice you don't ever speak to your actors, you don't give them any direction. He said, well, if you cast correctly, you don't have to. Now, by the same token, Kazan said, if I have an inexperienced actor, then I have to talk more. Then I have to tell him a lot more. Well, with Brando, he wouldn't state an objective. If he was working with you, no offense, okay, if he was working, he would have to tell you what he wanted from you.
All day long.
Okay?
Yeah.
But by the same token, if he hired you to do what you were doing right now at this very second, to host the radio show, he wouldn't direct you at all.
Because of my experience.
That's right. In fact, he said the inexperienced actor that he hired to play a role in his films, whether it be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker, he said they would direct him. And in fact, they'd say to him, no, I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it this way. And Kazan would say, well, do it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah, he had actually genius to recognize when you should do that.
Absolutely.
Because most people would be so caught up on themselves that they would say, wait a minute, now, who's telling you? Don't tell me what to do. I'm the director.
Right.
And they would lose something in the product then.
Right, but he recognized when somebody knew what they were doing, not to get in their way, but sometimes they were only good for one take or two.
Yeah.
He couldn't get a full performance out of somebody who was an amateur. He just couldn't.
He wasn't able to squeeze it.
No, you can't. As Kubrick once said, you can't get blood out of a stone.
Yeah.
The actor has to be able to give you what you want as the director. He has to be capable of giving the performance. You can't extract a performance from someone that's not capable of giving one.
Yes, that's an interesting question. Now you stop me there for a second, because I've heard the contrary as well, where the director does pull it out of the actor, but the actor has to have it.
He has to have something.
He has to have something.
He has
inside.
to have something inside. He has
to.
to recognize something in the actor's temperament where he says, there's something I can do. I can mold a performance in a particular way. But if you're working with somebody who's totally unskilled, you're not God. You can't walk on water. You're not going to be able to extract a performance out of somebody that's not capable of giving one.
Absolutely. We were doing a small bit, and it wasn't working well. And the director called me aside and said, the next shoot, I want you to shove him really hard and push him and bang him against the wall like you would downtown. I said, I don't know. She said, just do it. And finally, when I did, in the next scene, she got the expression she wanted on the other guy's face, because he was absolutely stuck. What the boom! My God